everyone. Two Uncles are back. Welcome to the Two Uncles football show. My name is Gullu. Just a quick intro. I'm a big Manchester United fan. Pretty sad right nowadays, of course, or let's say not nowadays, last 10 years, but still supporting my team. My friend, go ahead.
And this is Nav. I'm also a lifelong football or soccer addict. I'm a Spurs fan, but don't hold it against me. And yeah, let's kick it off.
Yeah, let's talk about let's recap last weekend. And of course, we got to start with the game of the season, not a game of the season, but of course, the best two
Yeah,
teams, Liverpool City.
yeah, clash of the, I guess, potential title winners this season. It actually wasn't much of a game of the season, I thought. It was a fun game. I think the hype was more than the quality in the game itself. But yeah, I think it goes to show, I guess, in a way now how well these teams know each other as well. I think like Klopp and Pep have played each other at least like 15 to 20 times now. You know what you're going to expect from both teams. So yeah, it was interesting. I think like the first goal, like the John Stones goal, was actually very reminiscent of the same thing Liverpool had done to Barca in that Champions League game. Like what, maybe 4 years ago when Liverpool reached the final, right? I think that
Yeah.
was the year they did that. So that was very clever. And then Liverpool came back right at the end, I think, right? Or am I getting it wrong? Anyway, Liverpool came
It
back.
was it was second half, right? Yeah,
Yeah, it was in the second half.
it was in the second half.
Uh, and I
Seven.
think it went according to plan, right? Salah came on, did his thing. De Bruyne, that was a big thing. I think he got taken off, and then he had like this long cuddle with Pep on the bench. I
Cuddle.
love the
That's beautiful.
squabble. Yeah,
Yeah,
something
exactly.
like that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a
But
good game. I think the only winner of that game was Arsenal, basically,
so
right? Both
so
the teams got points.
so to all our viewers, my friend Nav, how nicely he started the clash between the two potential title winners, not completely ignoring Gunners.
No, no. I mean, two of the potential title winners, right? Two out of the three.
Did you say that?
Uh,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
but I
mean,
think
if
I think
if there was a game in which three of them played together, I would say like all three potential title winners. But what I meant was, I
but
think like over the next 10 games,
yeah,
this is one of the sort of six pointers at the top, right? If
yeah.
anyone drop points, it's going to change pretty radically.
So
So yeah, it was a good game. I mean,
it it
um,
it did live up to the hype. I think it was not like any boring or any parts that
mhm,
were boring, both halves. And of course, Anfield was fantastic atmosphere. Uh,
yeah,
the I think what was our prediction from our last podcast? I think we had said I think it was a draw, or I was saying like maybe Liverpool might just nick it because it's Anfield. But
yeah. I think you went for Liverpool, I went for City, and we were both wrong.
yeah,
So
so
it's
we
a draw there too, I guess.
there you go. There you go. I think turning points, one question, and let's maybe a little bit like a debate on this.
Mhm.
Doku's kung fu kick was a penalty, I think.
Oh
Should
yeah,
have been a
for
penalty.
sure.
Yeah.
Should have been a penalty. I
Yeah.
think, regardless of it was, it was a mistake, but I mean, most
Yeah.
penalties are
It was
mistakes.
a penalty.
I think like McAllister also played to the audience. Fine. Most people will play to the audience in that
Sure.
situation.
Sure.
I was actually surprised it wasn't given because
Sure.
nowadays you feel like anything like a ricochet to the hand while you're in the
Yeah.
act of scoring a goal, gets given as like either a handball or I mean as a handball
Yeah.
against a striking team or as a penalty, right? Any
Yeah.
little thing gets punished. So I was really surprised this one
I
didn't
was
get given.
surprised because, like you said, I've seen handballs given for like turning and the defender just kind of
Yeah,
hand
and
even
the
side. It's
yeah, and the standard thing that commentators say in that situation, right? Anywhere else on the field, that would be a foul. except in the penalty box, I guess. So,
Exactly.
it
Yeah, I
is
think
what
it
it
was
is.
great. It was a great
Yeah.
game. It was fun, and the bromance between Klopp and Pep at the end was,
Oh my
see,
God, dude.
oh my
Get a
God,
room.
that's kind of, oh, you're leaving me.
Yeah.
Uh,
But it's going to be interesting. Like, I think at the end of the season, right, will that non-call of the penalty be spoken of, right, as like the turning point of the season? I don't think so, to be
or
honest. I don't think like it's
I,
that kind of season.
I
But
think, I think, I think what would be the talking point would be the rematch of Liverpool Spurs.
yeah, well, that definitely. I think there's a bunch of
That would be. Speaking of
yeah,
which,
yeah.
what do you think about your fantastic game, I think, for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I did not expect that scoreline. I think,
Exactly.
again, last week, I think you predicted a Villa win. I predicted a draw. And I thought, at Villa Park, considering they're playing so well, I thought a
Yeah.
draw would be a good result.
Yeah.
But I think this game was won after a long time, maybe after like 2, 3 months, where I felt like Spurs were in full control of the game from the start to finish. Like, even though the sending off was at 2-0, it wasn't like, by that time, I think Spurs were so much in control that it wouldn't have mattered. But it, of course, helped in the end that McGinn got sent off. But yeah, I thought like start to finish, it was a great game. Spurs played really well. Again, started a little slower in the first half than they did in the second. But yeah, it was great. And it was such a silly, reckless red card by McGinn in such an important game, especially when, or maybe because you're 2-0 down, maybe it was a little bit of
But
frustration on his part,
I
but it was like ridiculous. After that, I think Villa had no way back. Whatever hopes they had of like clawing back into the game were completely gone.
but I think even with how the game was kind of being played, I didn't see after 2-0.
Hmm.
I just didn't see that from Villa, that they would. Of course, you can't say it, but one goal, get a one goal back, and the pressure is on again. The game is on.
Yeah,
We don't know, but it didn't seem like Villa would. And I was surprised because I thought, like we were talking, it's Villa Park, it's tough, they're off
yeah,
trap. They always do
yeah,
this. So it
and
was,
and I think,
and,
mhm,
so sorry, to that particular point, once the red card was there, it's just done, right? I mean, I didn't
yeah,
see them coming back.
and there was a lot of talk after the game about how. And it'll be interesting to contrast this with like Ange's thinking, right? So there was a lot of talk about how Emery actually changed the formation for this game, just for this game,
Hmm.
right? Or maybe he plans to play this formation, but like this was the game he decided to switch to a back three instead of like a back four.
Hmm.
And they've been playing the back four system like throughout the season. So that was a big change. And I think, maybe that was a game plan. And, to be honest, in the first half, they did have a couple of like good chances when like Watkins got free, Bailey got free, springing I guess, the counter attack. So yeah, I think that also maybe had something to do with like how little passive they were, and then of course the other standard excuse, which is like, oh, they had a Thursday night game in the Europa League, and maybe the legs were heavy and all
Uh,
that stuff. But
yeah,
everything,
sure.
everything said and done, and the reason I said like contrast this with like Ange, right? Look, I was just watching actually, funnily enough, the highlights again of like Spurs versus Chelsea, that November 6th game, um, and how like Spurs just refused to like change, right? Still played
Yeah,
the
yeah,
high line even
yeah,
with 9 men.
yeah.
So it's interesting, right? I mean, it's very it's a good insight into how coaches think. Maybe like Emery was more about, hey, let's do some game planning here, change our system a little bit,
Yeah.
and he's like, no, this is what we are, mate. So yeah. So I think that may have also contributed, or maybe he felt he had to like change the system because they were like more tired from the Thursday night game, so he wanted to give a little more protection to the to the
Well,
defense. But
but it was a crucial match, man. I think
mhm,
for Villa, and
yeah,
the next one is actually we'll talk about it, but with um, Villa Spurs, I mean Villa drop points, of course, great for you. United, I think it's still far away. And speaking of which, actually, the game 3 points is 3 points against Everton on
yep,
penalty. I don't
hmm,
care, to be honest. I don't think the game was. anything like wow. It was boring.
Yeah,
It
I
was
think it was.
boring,
Yeah, it was
and
just a
I
regular.
don't think I'll get my 2 hours of extra sleep that I lost and waking up at 4:30. I'm going to get that get that back ever.
Yeah,
Fine.
no,
I
agreed.
mean,
The one, the one thing the game reminded me was of the famous, like, the COVID season. I think Bruno used to get a penalty in every game,
yeah,
right? And this time it was like Garnacho winning it, but Bruno scored the first
yeah.
penalty.
And I
But
was,
kind of for a minute brought me back to that time when I was like, oh, Manchester United. Oh, of course,
yeah,
there's a penalty.
I was
So
looking for like 3 points in the back, but maybe let's create another record of getting 3 penalties in a game. Nobody that has ever happened, right?
yeah, I think that
So
was the most exciting thing that people were looking
yeah,
forward to in the second half. Was like, hey, can we get a third penalty in this one?
third
Right?
penalty, and
So
then Garnacho is man of the match. Why? Because he got three
yeah,
penalties for us. Yeah, but it was
yeah, it's kind of
fine.
a weird hat trick in a way, a different kind of hat trick.
Exactly, exactly. So, but overall, fine. I mean, 3 points are 3 points. Let's get going because I think the gap has to be closed. It's still, I think, fourth place is far away. We have to talk about Champions League, and I just read
Hmm.
today morning that fifth place Premier League will get into Champions League. But we'll
Yeah,
talk about the format. I think we both have to kind of understand what
do a
is
little brushing up. Yeah,
exactly. We have to do
yeah,
our
yeah. But that
research
is true.
and analysis.
I think the fifth spot going to the Champions League is
Yeah,
getting a little more certain now.
yeah,
So yeah, there you go. I think it'll be good to get five teams in the Champions League, and now we have a little more chance to come back into that fifth place spot.
exactly. Exactly. Which was the other game? I think Chelsea Newcastle. That is something was I here is the thing. I actually it was on Monday, so I should
Mhm.
have actually seen the whole. I think I stopped watching, and of course I had some work to do, so I stopped watching around when it was 2-1, right?
Mhm.
And I think it became 3-1. Yeah, I stopped watching. I think it was or the other way around, but I think it was a close game, a close call
Mhm.
for.
Yeah,
But
but
good result. Yeah,
again, I think like Poch is definitely improving Chelsea from the beginning of the season, Chelsea versus now. They look a lot more organized, I would say. Like, I think he's got like a set playing 11 now. They're much better organized. Newcastle is just, I don't know, man. They're just
dropping.
yeah, dropping or like just consolidating their mid-table
And
position.
and
So
it's not even injuries there. I think everyone
yeah,
or maybe one or two are out, but not there's no injury excuse there.
and I can't point to anything. I mean, sure, it's their first Champions League campaign in a long time, but they got knocked out of it a while ago.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
of course, yeah.
so can't even blame that. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if like they keep faith in Eddie Howe. Um, actually, one of my friends was commenting that, oh yeah, they're going to fire Eddie Howe, and then guess what? Eddie Howe is going to be the England manager because I think like Southgate's contract is up after the Euros.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, it was just,
Yeah.
I mean, news about it, obviously, but it was just like
Possible,
a
man. It's
prediction,
possible. Yeah, yeah,
right?
it's possible. Actually, it's interesting not to digress on this, but it'll be interesting to see after Euros who's going to be
Yeah,
England manager. I definitely Southgate won't continue after that, whatever the results are, even if he
I think
wins.
Southgate is definitely going to head to Manchester United, right, at this point. So,
No comments. No comments right now.
it's
Uh,
more likely than Benzema to United, I guess.
I have to, I have to no
Yeah,
comment. I have to talk to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and then we will decide what's next. So,
yeah,
but
absolutely. And then,
it
of course,
yeah,
the other game, Arsenal, I think, continue their march. Another good win at Brentford,
what's
or against Brentford, I should say. But yeah, nothing else. I think no other
poor Luton.
real. We
I
should
didn't
get to
I
that. I
didn't
think
see
like
it,
that.
but
Yeah,
I was following the scores. Yeah,
man. I until this game, and of course, we're just skipping a little ahead to the midweek game where Luton, led 3-0 at the half, and then Bournemouth came and beat them 4-3 in the second half. I've got to say, at this point, like I was supporting Luton. I was like, hey, they play well, they score a lot of goals, they put under team, they take the game to the so-called better teams or bigger teams. But now I'm kind of like, dude, you got to learn a lesson now, right? You can't keep doing this every game, and especially to lose like a 3-0 lead when you're in a relegation dogfight.
Yeah.
Now, it's okay to be gung ho, like when you're in Luton's position and go for it, but you also got to be a little smart and, or just play better, right? If you can continue attacking, have that philosophy,
I,
that's fine, but this cannot, this outcome cannot keep happening and you survive. I think that's
I
the
won't I
key.
won't use that word, but as Mourinho says, intelligent.
Yeah,
You have to play like that. I mean,
yeah.
3-0,
I mean,
it's
it's
sad
a
to see it. And I think they've gone through this a few times now, where they were in lead or drawing, even against big teams, right? And they just lost it. I think they were holding even, if I'm not mistaken, was it Chelsea or was it Arsenal? I don't remember.
yeah. They were
They were
holding
holding
Arsenal,
them for a
and
draw.
then
And
to like a last minute,
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
winner from Arsenal. They played really well against Spurs. Spurs were a man down, but they,
exactly.
still lost 1-0. I
Yeah.
think they drew with United, did they?
No,
Uh,
United
in the
won.
in the
Was
in the first leg, in the
yeah,
reverse fixture, I think.
yeah.
So yeah, they've actually done pretty well, except you know, close out the game and get points. So at the end of the day, I think the only thing that will save them is if Forest get a points deduction at this point. I think that is the only thing that can save them now, to be honest. And speaking of which, again, they play Forest this weekend, so that's going to be another big like
Oh yeah,
relegation six
that's
pointer.
right. Yeah. So
So
speaking of
that's going to be
points
a good game.
deduction, again, because every time you talk about points deduction, I come up, the only way United is going to win the Premier League, at least in next 2 to 3 years, is by points deduction of City, and Mourinho will get his fourth.
Yeah, and unless what is the statute of limitations on retroactive action that you can take? Uh,
Mm.
I
10
don't
years.
know, but I think the rule did come in place before City won that title, where
Oh,
United came second.
yeah.
So hey, man, but it's been what 10 years? It hasn't been enforced. So
Yeah.
let's move on.
Yeah,
Let's
let's
move on.
move on. I don't want to. I mean, rather win it on the right way, the right terms, than this kind of nonsense. But speaking of which, we will talk about Champions League new format, which I think could be a nonsense. But let's talk
Mhm.
about what is happening. I didn't see the games. I was just watching the score. But man, it was some thrilling games, huh? Penalty shootouts and
Yeah, yeah,
surprise. Actually, no, wait a minute. Sorry. Before we um, so both, right? Madrid and Inter went to penalty shootouts. Madrid
yes.
and Arsenal Porto.
Atletico and
Oh, sorry.
Atletico and
Oh,
Inter and Arsenal versus Porto both
yeah,
went.
yeah.
I did see. Uh, I did see the second half of. Let's start with Atletico versus Inter. I did see the second half of that game, and it was actually more exciting than I would associate with both Atletico and Inter. Um, so I think it was a pretty good game, end to end stuff. Atletico like finally got the equalizer when Depay came on. That was good. Extra time was okay. I think both teams were just kind of slogging it out. And the penalties, man, I think yeah, Atletico is just prepared. I think there's
Oblak.
nothing more to say.
So
Yeah,
Oblak was he saved,
Oblak was
or do you
good.
think they missed?
Inter actually missed. I saw the Lautaro miss where actually the
Uh,
ball, apparently there's this new clip doing the rounds where the ball just bobbles a little bit, just before he kicks the ball. So I think that's why he skies it.
huh.
That's the theory. Yeah, because I think the penalty spot was like pretty scuffed and like this guy kind of placed it. It was stable, and just as he's about to like make contact, it just kind of bloop, wobbles a little bit. So that was maybe a little bit of bad luck. Uh, but yeah, I mean, the impression again from both penalty shootouts, the impression that I got was the teams that won looked like they had practice penalties or prepared better.
Okay, okay.
Teams that
And
lost just didn't.
and Inter
So
didn't have Onana this time.
That's true. But yeah, I think like
Yeah.
yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. I actually thought Inter would get through, and then on the Arsenal side, I had a feeling that Arsenal would actually win that tie. I didn't expect it to go to overtime again, but I did. I did feel like they were just in flow. They have that flow going. They're just good. Porto was also spectacular, but Porto was also a little bit like gamesmanship and professional fouling and tactical fouling and all this stuff. Uh, but hey,
What
the
they do,
Mourinho
right?
mentality. He was a former Porto
Exactly.
coach, anyways.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think ultimately Arsenal did have to like slog to get that
Yeah,
equalizer.
that's where I
And
was surprised. I was
yeah,
surprised at
hmm
that. It's at Emirates, and Arsenal has been, they've been
hmm
flowing. So with Arsenal through, I mean, what's interesting is the quarterfinal draw.
hmm
It's, I think, amazing matchups coming up.
hmm
I'm certainly looking forward to, of course, Madrid City. That's going
hmm
to be fantastic. So let's, for our audience, so we have Arsenal, Bayern, Madrid
hmm
City, uh, Atletico, and who is there with it against Atletico?
Dortmund, I think.
Dortmund, and
Yeah,
then we have PSG versus Barcelona,
yeah. hmm
which
So
are,
where should we start?
I think, I mean,
Yeah.
I think among this, of course, City, Madrid is something which would be, I would personally be not missing that one for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a
I would
good
love
one.
that one. And
There,
I think the other one which I would really want to see is, of course, Arsenal Bayern.
yeah,
Absolutely.
versus the Harry
Cracking.
Kane team.
Yeah.
So yeah,
He
so it's
has
going to be
to,
pretty interesting.
he has to
I mean,
win,
I'm sure he'll be up for it. He's there. Eric Dyer's there. Former Chelsea coach is there. So I'm sure they're all like,
of course.
looking forward to it. So let's start there. Yeah, I think I think quality wise, I think the Madrid game versus City will be like, technically a good
Sure.
game, like quality, but just sort of storyline, plot line, passion. I think Arsenal versus Bayern would be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Arsenal, I think, will definitely, think that they have a great chance against like a somewhat disjointed Bayern team, right?
Yeah.
Everything said and done. And I think it is a great chance. So if they win this, they're in the semis. They'll totally be up for it. But yeah, I think it's going to be it's going to be fun to watch. My
Any,
prediction, I
yeah,
think I have to averse. I could never say Gunners will go through, so I'm going to go with Bayern.
Bayern. Bayern for
Yeah.
me too. And not
Okay.
because, I mean, it's nothing against Gunners for me, but I think there is something about, Champions League, English teams,
hmm
European team, and it's the pressure, the away games, in
hmm
Allianz Arena to play. It's going to be tough. I mean, yeah, you may look at Bayern and what's really happening there.
hmm
Um, that could play a role, but I think Bayern will get through.
hmm
But hey, you never know. So speaking
Yeah,
of,
and I also think that Arsenal like will probably also have like one eye on the Premier League, right? Since they're kind of on top of the table now. Bayern, in the meantime, have nothing to lose. This is their like only chance, so they'll be like ultra up for it.
yep,
So yeah, I expect. I think Bayern and ultimately they do have a lot of quality in their team, right?
yeah,
They have a lot of game winners.
exactly.
So yeah, I'd go for
Coach,
Bayern in that one.
and then speaking of City, Madrid
hmm
City, I don't even want to predict anything there. It can be anything. I think City is, if I read about Kevin De Bruyne having some injury now or something,
hmm
it's come
Oh
up. And
really?
he
Okay.
pulled out of the Belgian squad, or
hmm
maybe there was just a reason for something, or not to play international. But I think City has the upper hand based on, there is Pep and how they're playing, and but yeah, it's Don Carlo, man. He's not going to
hmm
be easy to beat. And
Yeah,
it depends on, if I'm not mistaken, who is injured at Madrid. Bellingham is not injured, right? I think this Rodrigo was injured some time ago, but they're back. I don't think
I
any.
think they're all back. I think most of
Yeah,
them
if
are
they're
back.
all back, then it's a
Um,
full
mhm.
strength Madrid.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I
So
will not
it'll be a
support
great
Madrid, of
tie.
course.
It'll be a great tie. I think you know, looking at the other games, I think everybody would have wanted to play Dortmund or Atletico, and they get to play each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good one.
But
And then PSG versus Barca is also kind of interesting because obviously Xavi is leaving at the end of the season. Luis Enrique against his former team.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's that's a good one too. Did Luis Enrique actually win the Champions League with Barca?
No, no,
No, he
no.
hasn't. Okay, Pep was the last person to win the Champions League with Barca there.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. But that's an interesting storyline as well. Um, Kylian Mbappe, who's likely on his way to Madrid, can really win over the Madrid fans by knocking Barca out. I think that's another storyline.
True. That's true.
Um, so a lot of interesting
And
things happening.
yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Any changes in your prediction for the ultimate winners?
No, at this point, I think City is still the favorite for me.
Yeah.
Um, and I would say a second favorite is actually going to be Bayern
Oh, wow.
for me. Provided I don't know if I don't know how the draws work, but if they I don't know if City plays Bayern in the next round or
Second,
something.
second
Uh,
favorite is Harry Kane.
so
Hey, it, man.
yeah,
Come on.
hey man, make it worth your while, dude. You didn't win the Bundesliga, but at least win the Champions League, and even for Bayern, it's like, oh, you paid 100 million to get this guy in. All right, let's have something to show for it, right?
Yeah.
But I think overall, I mean, uh, and I think Tuchel also made some comments recently, right, where it's like, hey, I don't have to worry about any long-term planning now. I just have to focus on the next 2 3 months. That's it.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I think
I wonder, does that drive that kind of like what's happening, even with Xavi, right? He's leaving. He said it.
Mhm,
Even if I win Champions League with Barcelona, I'm not staying here. I wonder
mhm.
if that kind of has an impact on how the managers approach these games and like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna get out. Why? I don't care. I think
Yeah, that's interesting. I think yeah, that's an interesting point. Let's look at it, right? Let's dissect it. So from a manager perspective, I think it's interesting. It's almost like, hey, you know what? I'm going to show you what you're going to miss,
mm,
right? Like you gave me all this crap, and now I'm leaving, and
yeah,
I'm going to show you what you're missing, right? I think there is that aspect to it.
yeah,
From at least from Bayern players' perspective, I think there is the aspect of like, hey, this is our last chance to win something major. Like,
mm,
we're Bundesliga's gone. So we have to like kind of focus. I think they'll do it for that reason, not so much for the, oh yeah, let's help our manager out. So I think there's definitely motivation on that side. And even from Barca, I think so. Barca, I think the situation is like maybe a little different in the sense that from the manager perspective, it's probably the same. Like, oh yeah, let me show you what I'm missing.
hmm,
But for the players, and they've got like a set of like really young players. It feels like every game they have some young debutant from their like academy step up. So, I mean, for the players, I think it's a great experience. I don't think they're necessarily like, oh, we have to, being at the stage of the careers that they are. They're not like this is our last chance or anything like that. But I think on Bayern's case, I think both the players and the coaches have like motivation to win it. Maybe different reasons for the motivation, but I think they'll. I
yeah.
think that will play in their favor, right?
The players for Bayern, specifically for Bayern, yeah, absolutely, because
Hmm.
there's silverware remaining there or chance of silverware. But
Hmm.
I always wondered, it's like, but yeah, it could be motivating those managers who are gonna go anyways, to show them or one last hurrah or something. But yeah, we'll see.
Hmm.
I think it's gonna be
Yeah,
fun.
and with
Football
Atletico
fan is
and
fun.
Atletico Dortmund, I really don't know what you're going to get. It's going to be like a
And
very
yeah,
interesting or uninteresting game. I
yeah.
don't know. So we'll,
And speaking of managers leaving, and we kind of good segue into the next topic of what we want to cover is upcoming games. So,
hmm.
FA Cup. I mean, of course, this weekend is kind of light on Premier League. There are a few games you are playing, of course,
Hmm.
but FA Cup coming up. And speaking of managers leaving, Klopp wants to win a lot more than just Carabao.
Yeah.
So United Liverpool, Old Trafford, Sunday, 8:30 a.m., I believe, Pacific time
Hmm.
kickoff.
Hmm.
Um, Here is the way I look at it. I think this is, I was reading the team news. There's a chance that Hoyland is back. Um, Van Bissaka is back. Maguire is back. Um, I don't think there are any major, like, of course, the left back position is always, this is a big, big challenge right now at United. And you would be surprised to say it's at Old Trafford. I think United will win this one.
You
It'll
will
be a
also
close
be.
game, but United will win.
I think you will also be surprised that even I think United will win this game.
Yeah.
Um, because again, I think this is their one legitimate chance of winning something this season. It is at Old Trafford, and United hasn't been playing that well, to be honest. I think the points that they have in the Premier League are not reflective of what how they have been playing. In fact, I think they've probably been playing worse than the points indicate.
Yep.
But having said that, yeah, they're pulling out the results, right,
Yep.
where they need to. So I think the crowd will be up for it. Ten Hag will be, want to sort of silence his critics, I think, which they are growing louder by the minute. I think Rashford will score one goal and then do nothing. But but uh, I think you need Hoyland in this game to keep like Virgil van Dijk occupied. So if he comes back, I think that's great. That's going to be awesome.
Van Dijk, who?
I think I would even say this is like a 1-0 or a 2-1 type
Yeah, yeah.
game. But
Something
more
like,
of a 1-0, I think 1-0 type game.
yeah, one
Yeah.
zero type game. If United scores the first one, just lock
Hmm.
and throw away the key. You
Yeah.
know,
You
park,
know.
park, park two buses or a
Yeah.
ship, whatever
And
you.
and I think the key is also ETH, like Ten Hag make substitutions a bit more proactively. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
if you know what you're going to get from Rashford this season at this point. So
exactly.
for example, he scores something in the 50th minute, take him off.
Take him off.
Put
Take him off
on put
because he
on an
does
extra
not.
body that will like
Yeah,
track
yeah, yeah,
and do
yeah,
this stuff
yeah.
and leave the sort of
Yeah.
again, it depends on a lot of factors. Like maybe if
Sure.
Hoyland comes in, like leave
But
the striking thing to Hoyland.
but there
But yeah.
is my confidence in this is kind of all kind of it could be short-lived when I see the team, the first 11 team lineup. Hoyland has to start. I don't know. I
Mhm.
mean, I want to read through that, but
Mhm.
I don't know if
And
he
I
is
think,
fully fit or he's bench fit,
yeah,
but I think if he's fully
but
fit, he's ready, then
and just to that point, the thing I was trying to say is if I think Hoyland is only effective if he starts, especially in a game like this. I don't think he's effective coming off the bench.
interesting.
Uh,
Okay.
because I don't think like you can. I feel like he's the kind of striker who he's not like an impact striker, right? He's like a grind it out. He'll hold the ball up, he'll let the runners come in, he'll be opportunistic, but he's not the hey come off the bench impact player like you know
Martial.
like say I mean like even a Salah could be right, like in terms of like he could come off the bench and like change
Yeah.
the game. I don't think Hoyland is like that, and I don't
Yeah.
mean that in a negative way. I just think that's the
Interesting.
style that he has, right? So I think he has to start.
The lineup is going to be, I think that will show us a lot. And speaking of that, is the other game is also great. City, Newcastle.
And
I
Newcastle,
don't think
yeah,
it's great. I would put it as I don't. It's very clear what's going to happen considering where Newcastle is right now.
I think the it depends on what kind of Newcastle you're going to get on the day. Like the Newcastle versus City league game was kind of exciting.
It
Newcastle were
is.
on top
Yeah,
for
yeah,
long
yeah, yeah,
times,
yeah, yeah.
and City just snuck
But
it at the end. The brilliant De Bruyne to Oscar Bob pass. But
wait,
I think uh,
sorry, sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt there. It's at St. James Park, not at
yeah,
Etihad.
yeah, yeah. No,
Ah,
I just
okay.
meant in terms of the like how well Newcastle played in that game.
Yeah,
right?
but okay,
Yeah.
yeah, but a home, I mean, St. James Park definitely gives, I wouldn't say gives Newcastle an edge, but definitely
Mhm.
can help actually to give a,
If anything, they
if anything,
definitely,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly, yeah.
So yeah, I think that should be a good game. In the Prem, I think there's, the top four contenders are both playing this week. Like Spurs are playing Fulham and Villa is playing West Ham. Um, so yeah, I think Van de Ven is out for Spurs, so that will be a big loss. But
How
we'll
long?
get to see. He's expected to be back after the international break. I think next week is the international break, and then after that we're back to the Prem. So he's got maybe he's out for like a couple of weeks. But then we have Khal Drogo starting tomorrow for Tottenham, so that'll be interesting.
Scary.
See how he does. And then
Yeah.
the Honey Badger is back, so that'll be cool as
Oh,
well.
okay, he's back. Cool. Uh, but Fulham away, watch out.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys, Craven Cottage is a tough one,
Hmm.
man. They're
Hmm.
tricky. But Villa, West Ham will be great. I don't think Villa is just gonna just, 3 points in the pocket. It's tough.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
think West
West
Ham again
Ham
have like
is getting
are on the upswing again, with
exactly,
Paqueta and Kudus and
exactly.
Bowen doing really well. So that should be a interesting game. But yeah, other than that, I think the FA Cup is probably definitely more exciting in terms of fixtures this weekend.
Let's get ready, man. But actually, you just reminded me of something. International break coming up. So
Oh my
next
God,
week, so this weekend is fine. The next weekend, nothing.
nothing. What do
Sad.
we do? What do we do, man?
Let's just drink.
My life is going to be meaningless next weekend.
Yeah, I'll just get some homework done. You know,
Exactly. But and
Need-
it's also some like random. I mean, I should look into this, but I'm just not interested in the international breaks. And again, this is like friendlies. It's not even like qualifiers or anything like that. It's just like random friendlies because the World Cup qualifiers I think aren't starting until after the Euros. The
yeah.
European Euro qualifiers are done, so I think this is just like a get the band together before the Euros start for one last joint training session and some games. I guess that's about it.
Well, speaking of that, let's just enjoy whatever is coming up till we get into the
Yeah,
lull. And
absolutely.
that weekend, we can just chill out and do something else.
Yeah, let's
On
talk
that
about a
note,
different sport next weekend.
all right. On that note, adios.